Good.
What is up, everybody? And welcome to the first edition of the 12th Horseshoe podcast here on Searchworks TV. I am Jack Rizzo, joined by Elijah Weintraub. Eli, how you doing, man?
Good. How are you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. Little nervous, but
Yeah, I agree. A little
you know,
nervous, but I'm ready to get the show started and uh get ready to start this new career and like new
yeah,
path for us at least.
yeah, it's gonna be really fun. Um, so welcome everybody to the 12th Horseshoe podcast. The reason why it's called the 12th Horseshoe podcast. Eli is a Seattle Seahawks fan, so in reference to the 12th man. And I am an Indianapolis Colts fan, so of course Horseshoe is our logo. Um, Before we start, just wanted to thank a few people. First off, our mentor Bobby for helping us with all this, teaching us so much about broadcasting, podcasting. Also, really quickly, just wanted to thank a couple of podcasters over at the Colts, Destin Adams, Shad McGinnis, Drake Wally, and Andrew Moore. Thank you all for all the tips that you've given me, and I can't wait to start this podcast with you, Eli. Anything you want to
Yeah,
say before we
thanks.
start?
Yeah, just thanks again to Bobby for making this all possible, and glad you got some mentors to help you out. And thank you to all who are currently watching. And yeah, let's have a good night.
Yeah, so let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into it. So, our first episode today, we'll be covering the NFL schedule release, of course, came out last Thursday, the May the 11th. This will be split up into two parts. So, today we'll be doing the AFC, and then next week will be the NFC. So, the first thing we're going to talk about here today is the broadcasting, cross flexing. There's a lot of new different elements this year.
Yes.
Eli will have them. Eli's got that all covered for you, but I'm just going to list off a couple of quick things. So first off, this is the third year now that we'll have a 17 game season. So every team now plays 17 games.
And the 1 week
Um,
for bye. Yeah.
yes, and
Hmm.
then now starting week 13, Monday night football games can be flexed out. So that's a new
Yep.
thing this year. Also, now you can have teams can play more than one Thursday night football game. So
Yep.
teams can have more than one short week. We'll see how teams adjust to that. And we heard a couple of days ago that there's going to be a playoff game on what Super Wild Card Weekend broadcasted on Peacock. And Eli, you can take off in a minute, but I'm just going to list off that this year the NFL will be broadcasting games on CBS, Fox, NBC, ESPN, ABC, Amazon Prime, NFL Network, ESPN Plus, and Peacock. Eli, what do you have about the cross flexing, and what do you think this is going to bring to the people watching at home next year for the NFL?
The cross flexing is definitely going to help. However, when it comes to the streaming services, that might be a little bit of effect. Like I personally, I don't have Peacock, but if for whatever reason the Seahawks do play on there, like that's gonna be like a little bit upsetting for me. And now remember, this the Peacock is now also getting one divisional round the game for the playoffs, and they're also getting one regular season game that'll be in week 15, um, which is pretty interesting actually to see. And yeah, to get back to the regular stuff, Amazon Prime Video will now be getting a Black Friday game, exclusively Prime Video. That is because week 12 is Thanksgiving week, and Thanksgiving they miss out that Thursday night because CBS, Fox, and NBC all get coverage of those games. So Prime Video will now have an exclusive game on Black Friday. That game is at 3 p.m. Dolphins versus Jets. We'll talk more about that when the time comes. And teams now, as you mentioned, Jack, can play twice now on Thursday night, which is pretty crazy. I guess we'll have to see a lot of Prime Video action for those teams that do play the double Prime Video. Might be a good idea to get Prime Video. And there is no guarantee that each team will get a prime time game. For the AFC, at least, the Texans and your Colts, unfortunately, don't get a prime time game this year. But the Colts do get an international game, I know. Um, and there is a team is no longer belonging to a specific network, which is the crazy story. So basically, CBS used to host most of the AFC games, and NFC used to be mostly on Fox. This year, now it's all over the place. Fox is now going to be primarily to AFC, and CBS is now going to be primary to NFC. So that's going to be the new change here. So a lot to get used to. The championships won't change. So the AFC championship will still remain on CBS more than likely, and NFC championship will more than likely stay on Fox. But that could change, of course. That's the pre stuff that we've heard about. That could change. My personal opinion, I'm not a huge fan of it. Because because I was, for the Seahawks always being on an NFC team and always being on Fox. I enjoyed listening to the Fox broadcast. So now it's just for me, just adapting to this new environment with the CBS. Um, CBS, well, of course, as mentioned, has more this year for NFC. And one more thing, ESPN, owned by the Walt Disney Company, have agreed back in 2021 to host two Super Bowls in 2026, LXI 61 and 2030 LXV 65. They will also stream one international game on ESPN Plus. ESPN will now get a divisional round game beginning this season on top of the already existing wild card game. Flex scheduling they'll be added, and 23 games total will be across all their platforms on ESPN, ABC, and ESPN Plus. Saturday games are available on the final week of the season, and they will still continue to cover the draft and the Pro Bowl. And just a quick on Peacock, which is owned by NBC Universal. They'll now be getting as we mentioned, a divisional round game in the playoffs, and as well as a regular season game in Week 15. That will be a 4:30 game. That is the 23rd of December. That is right before the Christmas break, and a lot of schedule changes regarding the Christmas break stuff. We'll have more information on that as the time goes on.
Yep. Thank you, Eli.
One
Yeah,
more
so
thing.
that's definitely gonna be something new.
Yeah.
Just wanted to give a quick example for the CBS Fox thing. I want to correct you for something you said. The majority of ABC games will still be on CBS,
Yes.
AFC on CBS, and NFC
Yes.
on Fox, and they have to have an equal amount of cross flexing. So I'll give you an
Yes.
example. Week 1, my Colts, we play home against Jacksonville. That game will be on Fox, and Tampa Bay will play Minnesota. NFC matchup on CBS.
Yes.
So I think it's going to be obviously something to watch out for this year and a new look for NFL TV.
Yes.
Yeah, so
And I'm just worried a little bit that possibly that we could see obviously the contract for NBC is still 2033, but I wouldn't be surprised after that contract expires they move Sunday Night Football to Peacock based off of what they did with Thursday Night Football to Prime Video. But obviously we'll have to wait and to see until when the time comes. But it's just new changes that we all have to obviously adapt to, and
yeah,
hopefully
definitely.
it affects us in a good way and not a bad way.
Yeah, so one more thing. We're gonna get right into the games because I know that's what you guys came here for. But one more thing I do want to mention now that this will be the first year that Sunday Ticket will be heading over to YouTube TV, so streaming service. It'll for YouTube TV subscribers, it'll cost $250 if you buy before June 6th, and then $100 more after. And for non-subscribers, $350 before June 6th, $450 after. So let's get right into the games again, just AFC today. We're going to
Yes.
start off with the international games. So I'm going to list them off here and we'll talk about them real quick. I'm going to jumble them all together. So the first game, first international game, we head to London for the first three. Week 4, October 1st, 9:30 a.m. Eastern on exclusively on ESPN Plus. Desmond Ritter and the Atlanta Falcons will travel on the road. Well, they're all on the road to take on Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Then the week after that, Jacksonville will be in London again, this time at Tottenham Stadium, and they'll be the road team as Josh Allen and the Bills come in to take on them. So potential playoff preview there. The week after that, once again at Tottenham, 9:30 a.m. on NFL Network. Week 5, Buffalo and Jacksonville is also on NFL Network. Week 6 will be probably a rush heavy game as Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, that new fresh contract, come in to take on Derrick Henry and the Tennessee Titans. So now there will be no stomping on the logos in this game because back in 2020, these two teams played at each other's stadium. They both stomped on their logos, but this is at a neutral site. So
Well, sort of neutral
we'll not
site, I
do
guess you
that.
could say.
Yeah, so and then we'll head over then 3 weeks later, we'll head over to Frankfurt, Germany for 2 games. So first game in week 9, 9:30 NFL Network. Probably definitely the best game on paper of these international games as
Absolutely agree.
Dolphins come in to take on Patrick Mahomes and the reigning Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. Should be an offensive shootout there. And then a week later, the game I'm looking forward to the most, of course, as my Indianapolis Colts, we head over to Germany to take on the New England Patriots. Obviously, can't really beat the Patriots in Foxborough to begin with, so it's nice to play them in Germany. So,
Yes.
Eli, what is your overall view on these international games, and which game are you looking forward to the most?
Yeah, I'm super excited for these matchups to come. What I'm really most looking forward to is I'm actually looking forward to the London game and the Jaguars and the Bills. Now I'm saying why not the Dolphins Chiefs? Well, the Jaguars, of course, beat sorry, yeah, the the Chiefs won against the Jaguars, so that makes like a little bit of competition there, and they need to like push harder. Trevor Lawrence is trying to obviously show his better game and trying to say that hey, we can go further than the second round of the playoffs, the divisional round. And for the Bills, they just need to win a game, and this is a potential playoff matchup again, as they're both good teams and look like playoff contenders. The AFC is going to be a lot hotter and rougher this year because of the new additions to these teams. For example, Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. That might be a potential threat, but obviously we'll have to see when the time comes. But I really am looking forward to the Jaguars Bills, both playoff teams. Both have great quarterbacks, and I can't wait to see what they have to offer in London. And I guess if you want to see a runner-up, Dolphins Chiefs, because it's the Chiefs, and the Dolphins are actually getting there. I mean, they made the playoffs last year, and they're this team that's trying to rebuild and come back.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Jacksonville, Buffalo. I'm gonna mention this a lot throughout the podcast, but we all know that right now the top 3 teams in the AFC are the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Bengals. I don't think that's debatable.
Yes, that is
We're gonna
not
see
debatable.
we're gonna have to see this year who's gonna be that 4th team to go in there. I think the Jags could be that team. It could be the Ravens. It could be the Dolphins. Could even be the Chargers. My favorite. I'm gonna
Do you think
go
the
with the
Jets have a
wild card
chance?
here for London for my favorite game in the international series. I'm gonna stay with Jacksonville, but I'm gonna go with the game before that against Atlanta. You've got 2 young offenses. I think Desmond Ritter is really gonna improve this year, especially with Bijan Robinson now in the backfield. Tyler Algier had a great year last year, but he's not Bijan Robinson. I think there's gonna be a lot of points scored in that one. And a Calvin Ridley revenge game. Calvin Ridley was on the Falcons for 4 seasons, then got
Yes.
traded. Jacksonville suspended all of last year. So that should be a fun one. Pretty exciting though, international series this year. So and then so next up we're going to talk about we've picked 7 AFC primetime games we want to talk about solo, and then we're going to get into each team's
Yep.
schedule individually. So first up, Eli mentioned it before. Let's talk about that game, that Black Friday game, the day after Thanksgiving, November 24th, 3 p.m. exclusively on Amazon Prime, as Tua and the Dolphins travel to MetLife to take on Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. You have obviously this is going to be a game with huge playoff implications, we think. I think though there's a chance these are 2 underrated defenses, so we might not see as many points as you think. But I'm excited, especially to see Black Friday. Although I feel like it is overkill having 3 games on Thanksgiving and then 1 game the next day. It really does deplete the Sunday lineup there.
Yeah, it does like kind of the fleet as you mentioned. However, it's something new and it's a new tradition, I guess you could say. But I'm curious: is either the Dolphins or the Jets going to be like a continuous run for Black Friday? Like how the Cowboys and the Lions, obviously they always play Thanksgiving no matter when they have to be home. Are the Jets and the Dolphins going to be one of those 2 teams, or if possible, going to be a continuous Black Friday game contender? That's my big question, but
I
I don't know,
I
Jack. What do
I
you
don't
think?
see that necessarily because this is like a brand new thing. This is the first year, and there's a lot of good
Absolutely,
teams in the NFL. It's not like this. The Cowboys Lions thing has been a tradition for decades, and when
absolutely. Well, I mean, this
it's
is a
long time, like way
new
before.
generation who's starting, so that's why I was curious. Dude, what are your thoughts on
Yeah,
that? Do you think it's possible?
I don't think it's possible now. Maybe in the future, but I think right now they're just gonna start like that, and
Start
I think it's
basic,
gonna
see
be a
how
good
it goes.
game. So next game we're gonna talk about is I think one of my top 3 non-Colts games that I'm looking forward to this year, and we're getting it right out of the gate. Thursday night, opening day on September the 7th, 8:20 p.m. NBC. The Detroit Lions travel on the road to take on the defending champs, Kansas City Chiefs. What an opportunity this is for Dan Campbell and the Lions, who when the schedule came out last year, they had no primetime games. They get one right out of the gate, and it's going to be a big test for them. Definitely going to be a lot of offense in that one.
Yeah, it's gonna be a huge test for them, and this is gonna show them if the Lions can somehow beat the Chiefs, then they're in the possible running. Now I know it sounds hard, but they have a lot of chances out there. And remember, usually when you're a Super Bowl champion, you play right away the Thursday night game. You always have a lot of energy and a lot of mind. But if for whatever reason the Lions have a chance to beat the Chiefs, I say they have a big shot at going in the future. But if they don't lose, I wouldn't be surprised because at the end of the day, it is Kansas City. There is nothing you can do about it because Kansas City is Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. I mean, there is no argument there. However, if the Lions have a shot, and that is a great opening matchup, a week 1 matchup, and that is going to be a key starting point for the Lions for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I definitely think they have a shot. I think the thing that's going to benefit though is that they're going to come into this game and they're not going to expect to win. They're just going to play their best
Expect
right
to
out of
lose
the
and
gate.
just pretty much.
Yeah,
But
and even
they
if
might
they
have a
do lose,
chance
if they
though.
play well, they can show, like, to be honest, right now, in my opinion, I think they're the best team in that division, and I think they have a real shot this year.
Absolutely
So
agree.
next up, let's go to a game that happens 4 days after that game, Monday night, opening day, 22nd anniversary of 9/11, and it'll
Yes.
be Aaron Rodgers' first start as a Jet, and it'll come at home against an AFC East rival, the Buffalo Bills. I do wanna mention, though, these 2 defenses were both top 5 last year. We saw how much Russell Wilson struggled in his first few weeks and just overall last season. I could see both of these offenses being sloppy out of the gate, and I think it could be a low-scoring game and not like the offensive showdown that maybe a lot of people are expecting to see.
Yeah, I'm actually expecting rather. I'm one of those people that expect it to be a pretty good, decent scoring game. And I believe though, for Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, this is like a huge test. How well are they going to play against this New York Jets team with Aaron Rodgers? Aaron Rodgers, of course, he's one of the greatest, obviously non-Super Bowl wise. You can't compete against Tom Brady. However, this is a new challenge for this team. And now remember, they're in the same division. They're in the East, same division. So now this is a team you have to play twice and possibly even three times if you're lucky and both teams go to the playoffs. Aaron Rodgers, we have never seen him in a Jets uniform. This will be the first year, and this is a huge test against Buffalo. And to be in New York, well, not in New Jersey, rather, on 9/11 is a special moment for both teams, and it shows like true passion, like true a true exciting game. So although it's not gonna be an exciting game, it's just gonna be exciting to see Aaron Rodgers in a different uniform and how well he'll play. And it all depends on that first quarter. I think everyone's really focused on, and I am very focused on that first quarter. Once you see how the first quarter is and how Aaron Rodgers plays with the Jets, that might change the game. Like, see, okay, the Jets have a shot, the Jets don't have a shot. Like that will determine that first quarter is going to determine everything, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's definitely gonna be a test. I think more so for the Jets and the Bills because I think we already know what we're gonna expect
Absolutely,
from the Bills this year.
yes.
So next up, let's talk about another Monday Night Football game, the rematch of Super Bowl 57, Week 11, November 20th, 8:15, ESPN, ABC. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles travel on the road to take on Mahomes and the Chiefs. We don't even really need much of an explanation for this one. It's just going to be a Super Bowl rematch. It's going to be a great. I think that obviously we saw an offensive showing last year from both teams in the Super Bowl, but these two defenses are both really solid. Now the Eagles lost their defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon to the Cardinals, who he's their new head coach. I think Steve Spagnuolo's defense, though, for the Chiefs has always been bend, don't break, and I think whichever defense makes the biggest stop is going to determine this game.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And I feel like the Eagles are going to somehow pull the win and come back there. And if it comes down to a field goal at the end of the day, that'll be incredible because it goes to show that the Eagles were really supposed to be. I was upset that the Chiefs won, but I feel like the Eagles are have this chance and opportunity now. This is their like big moment, and now it's Monday night. So obviously the stakes are higher, the energy levels are higher because not just a traditional Sunday game. This is Monday night, and then a Super Bowl rematch. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, definitely. Um, it's going to be a really fun game. These are two teams that I expect to be right back in contention. Should be a good one. Next up, let's combine two teams we've already talked about a lot in this video. Week 4, Sunday Night Football at MetLife once again, NBC 820, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. This is the first ever matchup between Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers at MetLife. Now, I do want to mention that the Chiefs and the Packers have actually played twice since Mahomes came into the league. They played in 2019 Sunday night. Mahomes was hurt. They play play.
Play him.
Rodgers that game. Then 2021, Rodgers was on the COVID list for the Chiefs game, missed it.
Wow,
Mahomes beat Jordan Love in a low scoring game. So assuming no injuries, this will be the first matchup between them.
and that's
It should
exciting. I
be
mean,
the
and
most
it's in New
talented
York, so
quarterback I've
obviously,
seen before.
yeah. And this is of course in New York, so obviously the New York fans are obviously going to go wild than ever before. This is going to be a huge matchup, and for the Jets and the Chiefs, it's a huge test for the Chiefs because again, a possible playoff contender. Now, not saying that they are going to make it. I don't want it to happen, but you know, I wouldn't be surprised that this could be another matchup in the playoffs. So this is like a big test for both teams. If, of course, no injuries or nothing, of course. occurs, I mean, it's week 4, so the likely possibility that they will play each other is pretty high.
Should be a fun one at MetLife. Next up, let's talk about I think an underrated primetime game. Week 7, Sunday night, NBC 8:20. The Miami Dolphins will travel on the road to take on the Philadelphia Eagles. So the matchup between the two Alabama quarterbacks that were in the 2017 national championship game. Jalen Hurts got benched for Tua in that game. Tua went on to win the national championship. As I see a comment from Martin here. Way to go, guys. Doing an awesome job. Thank you. We really appreciate the support, Martin. So yeah, Dolphins. I think obviously the Dolphins, they have a lot of hype again this year. I think their season though is going to all come down to Tua's health. Is he going to be able to stay healthy, avoid these concussions that he got last year? And I think the Dolphins could surprise some people in this game. The Eagles are probably going to be the heavy favorites, but I think the Dolphins could surprise some people.
Yeah, the Dolphins are definitely going to surprise some people here. And again, 2 playoff teams. That I mean, I don't think that we'll see them in the Super Bowl, but the Dolphins are definitely showing a lot of improvement compared to last year. And the Eagles, they're just trying to fight for these wins. They're trying to get back in there. And if New York Giants obviously play the way they've been playing, like last year, the possibilities are high that we could see another Eagles Giants rematch, and that'll be pretty cool. I mean, I love to see the Eagles again go far, but it's very interesting to see, I guess you could say.
Not the biggest supporter of the Eagles, but I
Yes,
mean, they're a
I'm
very
not either.
talented
But
team.
I mean,
Obviously, Shane Steichen, their OC, is our new head coach, which I'm thrilled about. We'll get to that later. Last primetime game we're going to talk about, then we're going to get into each team individually. Let's talk about another Sunday night matchup in Week 9, rematch of last year's AFC divisional round game in the snow. The Buffalo Bills will travel on the road to take on Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. Obviously, these two teams are battling for, again, AFC bragging rights. Which one of these teams can dethrone the Chiefs, who are king, obviously, now? And again, I think
obviously,
these are two bend don't break defenses. Especially the Bengals with Lou Anarumo. I think he's a really underrated defensive coordinator. I think I I think this game could either be I think it's either gonna be very high scoring or very low scoring. And I think whichever team wants it most is gonna win. And another one with huge playoff and seeding implications.
yeah, absolutely agree. And the Bills, they're trying to just stay put in. Obviously, if it wasn't for that playoff rematch, not yeah, the playoff rematch that they had, it would have been really cool to see because of the obviously the Damar Hamlin incident. That'll be like the real like big regular season test that they'll meet. Since the whole incident happening, this is an exciting game because Joe Burrow's really great and really good, and he's a Super Bowl contender, just like Josh Allen and the Bills. He's a good Super Bowl contender and can definitely go the extra mile. And I can't wait to see that matchup. And you know, I always like the Bengals from day one. The Bills I like, but I never have hopes in them going to the Super Bowl going far. So yeah,
Yeah, I want to see the Bills win one. So
I would
that's
love
gonna be
to,
it
but it's
for the
gonna be very
prime time.
difficult though.
Yeah, that's gonna be it for the prime time games. Plenty more great ones, but we're trying to keep. We don't want this to go on for 5 hours. So,
Yeah,
um, next up, let's talk about each team individually in the AFC, and we are gonna go in alphabetical order for this by city. So we're gonna start off with the Baltimore with the
Baltimore
yeah,
Ravens.
the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, they probably have to feel pretty much just as good as any team coming into this year. Finally signed Lamar Jackson to a 5-year, $260 million contract with 185 of it fully guaranteed. They got him a couple of receivers in Odell Beckham Jr. free agent signing, and they drafted Zay Flowers in the first round.
Yeah,
So it's definitely gonna be a fun offense to watch. I think the biggest question for him is gonna be if Lamar Jackson can stay healthy. If he stays healthy, the Ravens are one of the best teams in the AFC. But
absolutely. If he could,
as he's shown the last 2 years, if he can't stay healthy, then the Ravens are in trouble.
yeah, if he can't stay healthy, there's gonna be a lot of issues and a lot of problems. I'm really excited that the Seahawks get to play the Ravens because it'll be a great test. Lamar Jackson and Geno Smith, who I'm very proud of them, made us go to the wild card game. Wish we could have went further, but to go that far showed a really great work by Seattle. Obviously, I could brag about them, but you know, I'm excited just to see that matchup in particular because Geno Smith, a young quarterback, and then Lamar Jackson, like a kind of like a better veteran almost, you could say, at this game, but just got to push harder for them, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The Ravens they should definitely be good this year. Let's take a look at their schedule. They have a pretty favorable matchup. They open up at home against the Houston Texans. They have Now they will play the NFC West this year. So kind of a division that's up in the air right now. A lot of question marks that division, which we'll get to next week. Obviously, playing a tough division, you got to face the Bengals and the Steelers twice a year. Again, I think it's just going to come down to whether Lamar Jackson can stay healthy or not. And
Absolutely
for
agree.
I think for the Ravens, so they have their strength of schedule is 484. That's the 12th easiest in the league. And I think the game I'm looking most forward to for them is going to be Week 15 Sunday night at Jacksonville. I think two teams that are going to be fighting for that fourth best in the AFC.
Or possibly a
Rematch of a
playoff
great
spot
game
because
last
remember,
year.
yeah, I agree with that Jaguars Ravens decision, the choice that you made, Jack. Because remember last year, the Patriots, the Dolphins, and the Jets were all trying to fight in to get that last playoff spot, and the Ravens and Jaguars we could possibly see here fight a little bit extra to get that possible playoff spot. Because if they play well and they're lucky, these are playoff teams, and if they can somehow pass these other competitive AFC teams, I can't wait to see that matchup. And it could be a big test and ultimate payout for one of these two teams, and that could guarantee them a playoff spot.
Yeah, definitely gonna be huge playoff implications. So next up, let's talk about the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, a team that most people already have. We already all have high expectations for them. They were Super Bowl or bust last year. They went in the divisional round. They have pretty much the same expectations this year, returning with most of their core from last year. Um, obviously the question is, can they get past the divisional round? I think they have to make it at least to the AFC Championship game this year.
I would
We
love to,
might
but
see
the
some
thing is,
changes. Like maybe I don't know if they get rid of Sean McDermott, but we've seen what's been happening in the NBA. No coach is safe there. Um, I think I like their I think the number two receiver for Buffalo is gonna be a huge question. Stephon Diggs is obviously maybe one of the top five in the league. Gabe Davis
absolutely.
showed last year that he might not be ready to step into that two role yet. Although I did like the addition of adding tight end Dalton Kincaid in the first round. So it's a nice red zone weapon for Josh Allen.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And I can't wait to see, as you mentioned, Kincaid added, 25th pick, a tight end from Utah. Can't wait to see him and work with Stephon Diggs is gonna be incredible. And just the entire atmosphere in that game is gonna be great. The not that game, series is gonna be great for the Bills because they're trying to possibly go to the Super Bowl. I don't think they will because of the curse that is happening. I know a lot of when I did the broadcasting camp last year, um, there was a Bills player, a Bills fan rather, who's like upset about the Chiefs game because that was the year where the Chiefs Bills there was like a controversial ending because of overtime and everything. So I wouldn't be surprised we could see either a Bengals, Bills, or Chiefs, Bills. If they're both all these three teams are good and possibly AFC Championship, I do expect them to go to the AFC Championship, and I do expect them to work hard. If they go to the Super Bowl, I don't expect them winning. I feel like they're going to pull in Eagles, in my opinion. But obviously, you'll have to wait and see.
I think the Bills are in a better position than they've ever been in terms of their Super Bowl. I really think they are going to win one. We'll just have to see what it is. Now the Bills will have the
Absolutely.
seventh hardest schedule in the league this year, 0.542 winning percentage against. And I think the game I'm looking more forward to there is going to be the aforementioned Week 1 game against the Jets, which we already talked about. So we'll just move right in to
Yes.
the team that eliminated them in the playoffs last year, the Cincinnati Bengals. Again, we didn't do this on purpose. It's just the order of how this goes.
Yes.
So the Bengals, I think their biggest question is going to be, can their offensive line hold up? They made three big moves last year on the offensive line with Lyle Collins, Ted Karras, and Alex Kappa. Their O-line was still not very good last year. They were better in the playoffs. We saw that game against Buffalo, how good they were, but that could have been because of the snow. The Chiefs got pressure on them all game, ended up winning the game. And the last few Super Bowl champions we've seen, they've been able to generate great defensive pressure. Another big storyline for the Bengals, Joe Burrow's contract extension. I don't expect this to be too much of an issue, honestly.
No, I don't think.
But again, we've seen it over the past few years with Lamar Jackson, of course. But I think he'll be fine. But we'll see if it affects how they play at the beginning of the season. They drafted Miles Murphy, giving them some more defensive lineup for I think a very underrated pass rush. But I think the Bengals, they have a very bright future and they're going to win a Super Bowl one day.
Yeah, I do see them winning a Super Bowl, and I know they will get it. They never won a Super Bowl, as we all know, and I think they have the potential to win a Super Bowl, whether it's not this year, next year. And I do believe that Joe Burrow will get a good contract. However, bring a lot of drama until that extension comes to time to sign and everything, and when the deal officially comes out. But I think when Joe Burrow does stay with the Bengals, it's going to be a lot of happiness for those Bengals fans because they're going to see a lot of possibly playoff runs if the team stays healthy and strong. And I really can't wait to see them go in this new era. And I know they're going to win a Super Bowl, whether it's not this year, next year, or in the few years to come.
Yeah, definitely agree. So the Bengals will have the 16th easiest schedule, so right around the middle of the pack, 510 winning percentage against. Um, they will open up on the road against the Cleveland Browns. They will also play the NFC West, Baltimore Ravens. They're in the same division, obviously. Have a lot of primetime games as well. I should mention that the Chiefs, Bills, Cowboys, and Chargers are all tied with 6 primetime games each as the most, and then a handful of teams have 5. I think the game I'm looking most forward to for the Bengals this year is going to be a bit of a wild card. I'm going to go with a Week 8 matchup on the road against the San Francisco 49ers, 425 CBS. I think we've seen these two teams play in the Super Bowl twice, and I think these are you could argue these are the two best teams in their respective conferences, and this could be a
I
potential another Super Bowl preview.
I absolutely agree because what the 49ers have done and that back quarterback, I'm blanking on his name right now, but he did a great job for the 49ers.
Brock
Obviously,
Purdy.
49ers, yeah, Brock Purdy. I can't really talk too much about the 49ers. I'm not a huge fan of it. But the point is, because I was so excited, I like what he did. That'll be a great matchup to see because the Bengals, of course, are a tough team. However, in my opinion, I'm looking really forward to the Chiefs and the Bills matchup again because those are two teams where I could see more happening in the playoffs and bringing a lot more drama and action to the NFL because of those games. And of course, the Bills have a lot of the money, of course, because we talked about all getting a series already, the Damar Hamlin incident. And yeah, I can't wait to see these matchups. And one of my favorites is gonna be the Bills and the Chiefs playing against the Bengals. But go Seahawks when they play them.
Yeah, I think I agree with pretty much everything you said. Chiefs, Bills, Bengals, top 3 teams in the AFC. I don't think we can debate that. See who that 4th team could be. Next up, let's talk about a team with a lot of question marks going into the season. The other Ohio team, the Cleveland Browns. The Browns last year obviously traded for Deshaun Watson, gave up 3 future firsts and a handful of other picks. Last year, obviously, was suspended for the first 11 games. Did not look great in the 6 games. How Deshaun Watson plays is going to dictate how the Browns are as a team this year. Again, if he can play like that 2018 to 2020 form of himself, they could be a sleeper in the AFC. But if he plays like he did last year, then they're going to probably be picking in the top 5 again. I'm not a fan of that 5-year, $230 million contract. It's fully guaranteed as well.
Yeah.
So that's one thing to keep an eye on. Also, though, Nick Chubb, keep an eye out for his workload. See if the Browns, are playing well throughout the season. They might try to cut his workload down a little bit, try to preserve him for the postseason. But if Watson doesn't play well and they have to rely on Nick Chubb, that could increase his injury chances for the Browns.
Yeah, obviously the Browns have to try very hard. And just want a quick update, just real quick. Michael Woods II, a wide receiver, is going to be out for training camp per CBS Sports sources because of an Achilles injury, questionable for the start of the regular season. Just want to bring that up there. That'll be another crucial player that's going to be missing. Hopefully he'll be there for the start. And of course, Browns are going to have a lot on their plate going into their first game. They're going to expect a lot of difficulty. I mean, they got to look at the bright side. They have 2 primetime games for a team that and one being the Jets and the other being the Steelers, a big, huge rival there. I'm excited to see those matchups there. I am I'm ready for the Steelers Browns matchup because it's a big division rival game and it's Monday night on ABC. Because now week 2 is going to have 2 games, one on ESPN on Monday night, and ABC is going to have a game on Monday night. I believe even week 3 is going to have it as well.
Yeah, definitely. So the the Browns schedule. Let's take a look at their schedule. They open up at home against Cincinnati, as we mentioned. Again, they're in the AFC North, so they will play the NFC West this season, along with the AFC South. So that AFC South favorable for all these AFC North teams. Obviously, AFC South definitely the weakest division of the conference. You could argue in the NFL, but we'll just have to see. The Browns have the 0.460 winning percentage against. That's the 7th easiest schedule in the league. And the game I'm looking most forward to, Eli, you're gonna like this one. I'm going
I
with their
saw.
week game matchup at the Seahawks, 4:05 on Fox. So we'll see about that. Next up, let's talk about a team, maybe the most disappointing team in the league last year, the Denver Broncos. Obviously, Eli,
Can I
you know
start
this
on this
very
one?
well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
can
go
I
ahead.
start on this
Go
one?
ahead.
Yeah. Just want to say the Seahawks made an absolute great decision for trading Russell Wilson. I think the fact that we went to the playoffs was incredible. Um, However, last year they were dangerous. They were not dangerous because they were horrible, and that is because oh my god, the Russell Wilson situation. However, they got they got a pretty good coach coming in, Sean McPayne, who did some work with Fox Sports before coaching. That's gonna possibly change this game for the Broncos. That seems like a pretty good coach, and can't wait to see that matchup. I mean, in the season, obviously, thank God the Seahawks don't play the Broncos this year, and hopefully not a Super Bowl 48 matchup rematch again. But I doubt that'll happen. Yeah, like I said, I'm not a huge yeah. I just want a quick note. XFL standout quarterback Ben DiNucci signs with the Broncos, according to the news reports, and huge list of injuries for the Broncos, one including Russell Wilson. Yes, for the star quarterback, questionable for training camp following a knee injury in the regular season. Obviously, wish him the best of health, but thank God he's not playing the Seahawks because
I knew you were
really
gonna do that. I knew you were gonna
yep.
do that. Okay, so
Can't wait for the Colts.
not yet. A few more teams.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
do want to
I
mention
know.
the
What you're
Broncos
up,
will
I'm
be the
saying.
first of the next three teams that each will bring in a new head coach this year. Game I'm looking. Broncos will have the 12th hardest schedule this year, 0.517. Game I'm looking forward to the most will be a Sunday nighter, Week 11 at home against the Minnesota Vikings. Could be an underrated game there. I think we're gonna move on now for Eli. Gets too deep into Russell Wilson. Let's go now to
So the Houston
our
Texans.
our division rivals is the Colts, Houston Texans. They bring in a new head coach this year for the third straight year in D'Amico Ryans. Definitely think he's the best of these three. David Culley, Lovie Smith, and now D'Amico Ryans. Of course, defensive mind. I think the Texans had the best draft of any team. They got C.J. Stroud, number 2, and then they traded all the way back up, which I think is going to pay off for them, and got Will Anderson Jr. So they got a great, an accurate quarterback who's going to fit perfectly in that scheme, and a star edge rusher who's going to change that defense like Aiden Hutchinson did last year. Texans are going to be the first team we're going to talk about that do not have a single primetime game next year, no international games. For their best game, I'm going with their week 2 game against the Colts. So bringing in my bias here, 1 p.m. on Fox. But a potential rookie duel there between Anthony Richardson, which I'll get to in a minute, and C.J. Stroud. Texans have the third easiest schedule this year, 0.431. Anything you want to add, Eli, about the Texans?
Well, real quick, Drake Willie, let's go
Oh yeah,
against.
my guy Drake. Sports Illustrated. Make sure you guys who are watching go follow him on Twitter at @DWallisterDrake. Puts out great content. Obviously, also runs a podcast called The Horseshoe Huddle along with Andrew Moore. So make sure you go follow Drake.
You also
Yeah,
have
should
love what
definitely
Houston
be.
did in the draft, and however that run defense could be brutal. Still, good point
Yeah,
there.
I definitely agree, Drake. I definitely agree with that. Again, I do love though what they did in the draft. I think they're going to be a much improved team this year.
Yeah,
So,
they're going to be an
Eli,
improved
are you
team.
ready?
Yeah, let me just give one
Oh
more
no,
thought
yeah.
about the
Say
tech.
what you
Yeah,
want had to say about the Texans. Go ahead.
yeah, they have no primetime games this year. It's going to be a little bit interesting. I know you're dying for this. They have no primetime games. It's going to be a new rebuilding area. I know they have the easy schedule, but it's the Texans and they're in the AFC, and it's a rough AFC division, so they really got to play hard and try hard. One game I really am looking forward to is the Texans Cardinals. Two pretty decent quarterbacks, and can't wait to see how that matchup plays out. And Jack, I know you've been waiting for this all year. Take it away on the Indianapolis Colts. It's all yours.
I'm not gonna scream about it, but I will. Obviously, I'm obviously very
I thought you
excited.
were.
I think obviously I know a lot of people question the Jeff Saturday hiring, but it ended up working for us. He did exactly what he needed to. He tanked for us. We got Anthony Richardson, we got Shane Steichen, and we're ready to be, Super Bowl contender for the next 15 years. So obviously this year, I mean, we're gonna go 17-0 and win the Super Bowl, but in
Yeah, okay.
reality, it's more of a retooling year, I'd say. We're still not sure if Anthony Richardson's going to start in week 1. I think he definitely has a chance, especially with Shane Steichen. I think he's going to be really confident in him. I think defense is definitely our strong suit, especially the pass rush. We have probably the best defensive tackle duo in the league with DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart. We have Shaquille Leonard coming back this year, should be healthy. Have a young secondary, so I could see a bit of struggle there this year. We obviously, Shane Steichen, brilliant offensive mind. I think it was a great fit for the Colts. We have some really good receivers, I think. Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, who we drafted in the 3rd round. I think that are going to develop this year. Our offensive line's always strong. I haven't even mentioned Jonathan Taylor yet. um, you know, I really hope JT can stay healthy this year because if he is, he's the best running back in the league, as we saw in 2021. And I think our tight end room is pretty underrated too. We do not have a primetime game this year. I think that might work
They got
out
an
for us, though,
international.
honestly. The game
I
I'm
think
looking
that
most forward.
I
What were
think
you
they're gonna
saying,
be
Elon?
I think they're the underdog going into this season, just like the Lions. But I feel like they're gonna come out and pull something strong. They may not be a playoff team, sorry, Jack, but
No, I
they are gonna
agree.
definitely they are definitely gonna show a lot of potential and might pull up like the Lions might do in the NFC, which I can't wait to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my Colts fans watching from home, but this year I'm not. I'm gonna care more about Anthony Richardson's development really over our wins and losses. I think the game I'm looking most forward to. I mean, I'm looking forward to all of them. Obviously, I like the matchup though in Week 9 at Carolina, 4 o'clock on CBS. Obviously, two young quarterbacks, rookie quarterbacks, in the Frank Reich revenge game. We got rid of Frank Reich after last year, after the New England game, which was awful. We do have the 4th easiest schedule. I don't know how that's going to play out because our history has been we play well against good teams and then we stink against the bad teams. But
Yeah.
I think we definitely have a chance this year. We're gonna stay in the AFC South for the next team. Definitely the best team in this division on paper right now. The Jacksonville
Oh wait,
Jaguars.
one more thing I just want to add about the Colts real quick. Matt Ryan, who apparently did not retire, is joining CBS Sports as analysis. He's being not retiring. Jack M, any thoughts on that real quick?
Yeah, I'm definitely happy for him. We saw him as a guest on CBS past postseason. He seems to be a guy who's very smart. I think he's gonna, fit in right in with CBS. And the reason why he did not officially retire is because the Colts still owe him about $12 million. So obviously the Colts are gonna have to pay that. We still have plenty of cap space, so we should be fine. But it's a smart decision for
Only
Matt
12
Ryan to
million.
not retire. I still wish we would have made that trade, but we have Anthony Richardson and Shane Steichen now, so I just got to move past it. Let's go now to the Jacksonville Jaguars. As I said, probably definitely the best team on in this division on paper. I think the key to them this year is going to be Trevor Lawrence's consistency. Last year, they obviously started off 3-7. T. Law was a little shaky, had some good starts, and even when they were going down their run at the end of the year, he still had some rough starts. I mean, you look at that winner take all game in Week 18 against the Tennessee Titans. The Jags defense won them that game, and even that wild card game against the Chargers, they were down 27-0. He threw 4 interceptions. Obviously, came back, but again, we know the Chargers are known for blowing big leads. But I think the Jags have the chance to be the 4th team this year. I think they're obviously. I think it's all going to come down to Trevor Lawrence and his consistency for the Jags this year.
Yeah, absolutely, and they're the Waffle House team. So obviously, after a win, I wouldn't be surprised they start catering at TIA Bank Field more Waffle Houses. Just the way that everything has been lately for them after that Charger celebration. No, back to the real stuff. Yeah, I'm excited to see what the Chargers, the Jacksonville Jaguars have to be in store. Of course, Trevor Lawrence, he's done an incredible job. Their defense, obviously, key, especially during that Chargers comeback win during the wild card game. And I can't wait to see what is in store and what has to offer. I'm mostly excited for the week 2 matchup versus the Chiefs. Again, this is the
That's what
reason
I have
why.
too.
Yep, that's the reason why the Jaguars lost, and I can't wait to see what is in store. Who is the better team, and is Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars still have a chance? And could this be another matchup in the postseason?
Yeah, it definitely could be. I think let's just go over the Jags. I forgot to do this for the last few teams, but let's go over the Jags real quick. They'll open up at Indianapolis at Lucas Oil, 1 o'clock Fox, Week 1. Then yes, they'll be at home against Kansas City Week 2. I think that could be an early AFC Championship game preview. I mean, I think Jacksonville, they could, I think, crumble this year if Trevor Lawrence is inconsistent, but I think Doug Peterson's a really, really good head coach. They lost their passing game
Absolutely.
coordinator, Jim Bob Cooter, who's now our offensive coordinator.
Absolutely. I think he's a
Um,
great head coach, Doug Peterson, as he did win Philadelphia. Their one and only championship was supposed to be two, but of course, it's the Chiefs, which is up next, unfortunately.
so the Jags will have the 10th, the 10th easiest schedule this year, 0.477 wins percentage against. Let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs now. I mean, Patrick Mahomes. Let's just move on. No, I'm kidding. I do have a few things to say
I
about
think that's a great idea because the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes are becoming the new Tom Brady and the New England Patriots for me. I feel like they're just going to continue, and we're just going to be bored at this point watching the same team over and over again. I know David D'Alessandro is a JV coach and huge Chiefs
Oh
fan.
my god.
I'm sorry, but listen, I'm not a fan of the Chiefs. Never was, and yeah,
Yeah,
you're gonna
he hates
you're
the
gonna do
Colts,
most of the talking.
but
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Chiefs either.
anyways, so there is one question I do have about the Chiefs here. It's gonna be the receiver room. They didn't really have a true number one last year. I mean, of course they won the Super Bowl because Travis Kelce pretty much is their number one. They lost Juju Smith-Schuster to the New England Patriots in free agency. They have a lot of young guys. They have Sky Moore, rookie last year. Didn't see a lot of time. They have Marquez Valdez-Scantling, another receiver. They have Justin Watson, I think an underrated slot receiver possibly. Obviously, you have the best tight end in the league in Travis Kelce, but the Chiefs did lose Orlando Brown, their star left tackle in free agency, to the rival Cincinnati Bengals. They brought in Jags tackle Jawan Taylor to replace him. Knowing Andy Reid, I'm sure he'll turn into an all-pro. Their defense, again, as I mentioned, very, very underrated. Game I'm looking most forward to them. I'm going to go with that week one game against the Lions at 8:20 NBC week one. They will have they're right in the middle of the pack for schedule difficulty 0.512. I think we know what we can expect from the Chiefs this year. So now
Super Bowl win again, I would be annoyed.
Let's move on now to the next another AFC West team. The next two will be both AFC West. The Las Vegas Raiders, another team that was incredibly disappointing last year. Obviously, after trading for Devontae Adams, they had a lot of expectations, especially in the AFC. At least we thought they were going to be a playoff team. They were horrible. They lost to Jeff Saturday for starters.
Yeah.
And of course they got
Jimmy
rid of
Garoppolo. That is going to change.
I question that move. I think it was a good time for the Raiders to draft a quarterback. I'm not a huge fan of Will Levis, but I thought that would have been a nice pick there, number 7. Obviously, Tyree Wilson's a really talented defensive player, but I think it's time for the Raiders to get their new quarterback. Jimmy G has a very long injury history, and he's inconsistent. I know he's been to NFC Championship games, and he has the experience. And, of course, he worked with Josh McDaniels for 3 years. But, I mean, on his own, though, can he really carry a team? I mean, that defense is awful. And they traded Darren Waller to the Giants. That's a huge loss.
Yeah, everything on that team needs rebuilding. And they're going to have which I see on your sheet here, it says 0.524, 10th hardest schedule. It's going to be another rough season for the Jets. Not Jets, Raiders, sorry. Getting confused, getting ahead.
That was out of left field.
Yeah, the Jets, I mean, I'm looking forward to the Jets-Raiders matchup, I guess you could say. Jimmy Garoppolo, Aaron Rodgers, pretty good quarterback matchup, I guess you could say. Is he getting me confused already?
Yeah, so game I'm looking most forward to, I'm going to go with the Christmas Day matchup on the road against the Chiefs. Okay. I don't really like that pick, but it's the one I picked, so whatever.
Yeah,
let's move on now
hard to choose.
The team that is the definition has been the definition of underachievement over the last few years. The Los Angeles Chargers always have had one of the most talented teams in the league the last few years with Justin Herbert. They have not gotten over the hump. They had a humiliating loss last year to Jacksonville in the wild card round. Let's take a look at what they can bring this year. Obviously, first question, can they actually hold a lead? Can they actually win these games? I think if they can, I think if the Chargers fail to win a playoff game this year, I think Brandon Staley is going to get fired because there's way too much talent on the team for that to happen.
And also getting there, because if you remember, they had to fight with that spot between New England and New York. And we could see that plus Baltimore add that to the table when you're trying to earn that spot in. I'm a little nervous for the Chargers. And with the way the AFC's been building up lately, and obviously the few teams that we've been through talking about already, that's going to be another huge issue for the Chargers. And as you write on your sheet here, 0.517, 12th hardest schedule to come. What do you think is
Yeah, I
your
have to correct you before
pick?
we used about the Chargers fighting for a wild card spot. They actually really
Well,
didn't.
not
They clinched it in
they. Yeah, they
clinched
clinched
it
in
in
the
week
six. I was more
16
wrong
the
about
week
that. I'm
before.
getting confused with the. Yep,
Yeah, it was the Patriots,
it was the
Steelers, and
Patriots.
Dolphins, the 3
Yep.
teams. So now the game I'm gonna go with their week 1 game. They'll host the Miami Dolphins at home, 4:25 CBS. And as Eli mentioned, they have the 12th hardest schedule. I think another thing too is health. This team has struggled to stay healthy. They definitely, if they can stay healthy, this team is very talented. Just a matter of whether they can hold the lead or not. And honestly, I don't really have much more to add because if they can't hold the lead, there's not really anything to talk about with the Chargers. So next up, let's go to the team that they play in week 1. I swear this is not on purpose. The
The
Miami
Miami
Dolphins,
Dolphins.
a team with a lot of hype this year. Obviously last year, but this year once again, we know Tua is the real deal. We saw it last year. Obviously that's the number one question is going to be his health. He had 3 concussions last year, 3 separate concussions. Missed the wild card game. They did not look good. I mean, they played solid against Buffalo in that wild card round, but on a whole, they did not look good without Tua. And if he can't
No,
stay
the
healthy, then this team is going to crumble. But if Tua is healthy, then this is a really fun team to watch. You've got maybe the best receiver in the league right now with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. You've got an underrated defense led by Xavier Howard, the interception king. Again, I think they have the potential to be that number 4 team in the AFC. And I am looking forward to that Black Friday game against the Jets. I'm sure you are too.
yeah, I'm actually looking
Eli.
forward to it because I don't have Prime Video, but it'll probably be on our local market
I think
because of
it's free. I
Fox.
think that game's actually free. Like that one
Yes.
game is free.
Oh
And I
wow.
do want to mention
Um,
though, the Dolphins have the second hardest schedule in the league this
yes,
year.
with 0.554.
554 winning percentage. Only the Eagles had the tougher schedule. But I think
Which we'll
this
talk more
Dolphins,
about next week. But yeah,
yeah, exactly. Yep.
and with the Dolphins, I'm really excited to see what they did. They really did a pretty good job in the playoffs last year. They played the Bills. Obviously, the Bills are the Bills. If they played harder, they would have had opportunities with obviously Ravens. I'm looking at my schedules to the right of me. Obviously, um, the previous playoff record. I'm really excited to see how well they adapt and how well they're going to play. We're going to see a lot of great matchups. One of my favorite matchups I'm looking forward to, as you mentioned, the Jets game. And I'm also looking forward to that Germany game against the Chiefs, which is, of course, week 9 on NFL Network. They never been to Germany. This is going to be the 16th sixth day, one of the 16th to go there.
Yeah, Germany. I think that game is definitely good. I do want to mention about Germany though, real quick. That
Yep.
hold up. What a Colts offensive tackle, Bernard Raymond, was actually born in Germany, I believe. Actually, hang on, I'm looking right now.
Just
I'm pretty
clarifying the
sure.
sources.
Yes, I got it. Hang on real quick. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, in the meantime, up next would be the New England Patriots. Well, Jack finishes up that. He'll
Oh no, he was born in Austria, but Darius Butler, a former Colts defensive back, was born in Germany on a military base. Retired
wow.
now, works for TV, but yeah, so a bit of a homecoming for some Colts. Next up, the team
New
that
England
a lot of
Patriots.
people hate, probably the most hated team in the AFC, the New England Patriots, a team that I
To go,
obviously despise as a Colts fan.
to go to that. I hated the Patriots when Tom Brady was there and they kept winning Super Bowls like I do now with the
You know what
Chiefs.
happened, Eli?
I know what happened. I was just saying. I'm more. I don't mind the Patriots now because they're losing, but because now I'm like more of a hater to the Chiefs. But that's just beyond the point. Really looking forward to the Jets Patriots rivalry week in week 3. Of course, they have a lot of championships. We don't need to argue about that. And Jack, it's your turn. What do you have to say? And I'll read
Oh,
off the one.
you sure it's okay, Eli. You don't take your time. Do you have anything to say?
0.5 for 49, third hardest schedule.
Okay.
And Jack, go ahead, rip about the Patriots because I know
I'm
you're
not gonna rip
ready.
out the Patriots, but I am gonna rip out how bad their offense was last year.
All
One of
right,
the
go
worst,
ahead.
honestly, in recent memory that I have seen. Now, I don't know what Bill Belichick was thinking by making Joe Judge and Matt Patricia his co-offensive coordinators. Two Joe Judge comes from special teams background. Matt Patricia from defense. So I don't know why they make them the co-offensive coordinators. Mac Jones was obviously not on the same page with Bill Belichick. I do like the
Absolutely.
hiring of Bill O'Brien as their new OC. Of course, was at Alabama and previously the Texans coach. I think I don't know about. I think Mac Jones can be solid. I don't know if he's ever going to be elite. I think we can all agree on that. I think there's a chance we could see Bailey Zappi, but we have to see Bill Belichick and Mac Jones get on the same page fast. We can't. The Patriots obviously with the legacy they have, they're going to be expected to be a playoff contender this year. They definitely
Yeah,
have
they're gonna.
enough weapons around Mac Jones, and they'll always have a good O line. Defense will always be strong under Belichick. It really just comes down to Mac Jones' limitations.
Yeah, obviously, I can't wait to see because they're going to be a good playoff team. They were fighting for that spot between New York and the last team, which was the Dolphins. This is going to be another team where we got to look out for in the AFC. The AFC, as we mentioned, loaded, hot, and the Patriots really have to push themselves to get back into the playoff comp, which since Tom Brady left hasn't happened in a while.
Yeah, I definitely. Yeah, obviously you always trust the GOAT, Bill Belichick.
Yeah, I mean
To do it with the
he's a go for a
Patriots.
reason.
I think the game I'm looking most forward to for them. It's going to be a Week 12 matchup on the road against the New York Giants. Obviously, these two teams have a lot of history together. Yeah, I don't really have much more to add. Let's now go to a team we might spend a little bit more time on because they probably are the
Of the
most hyped.
area.
They are the most hyped team of any team in the league this year. The team that
I'll start on
plays.
this one.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay.
New York Jets.
All right, yeah. So the New York Jets, we are 3 teams away before we finish the schedule for the AFC. The Jets, here's what I have to say. Aaron Rodgers, everyone's gonna be so happy for him. The quarter one of the playoff of the Bills game is really gonna determine how well Aaron Rodgers plays. Now, obviously, you're gonna wait till the game ends to see how well he's gonna play for the rest of the season. Do I think he's gonna help the team to an extent? Yes, but not right away. I don't think he'll go the extra mile. Just based off of the previous records that we've seen with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. He played really well. He's gotten to like the first round, possibly even the second, because he got the number 1 seed, but got out right away. So when it comes to playoffs, that's gonna be the tricky part for Aaron Rodgers. I'm super excited to see him with the Jets. It's just gonna be it comes down to at the end of the day, how well can the defense maintain and how well does he work with the offense? How well does he compete against these powerhouse teams like Buffalo and like Kansas City?
Yeah, I definitely agree. To me, the star of this Jets team, it's not gonna be their offense, it's gonna be their defense. They had a top 5,
Absolutely.
they had the 4th best scoring defense in the league last year. Obviously, Sauce Gardner, rookie of
And
the
we
year. They added Will
and we noticed
McDonald in
that
the
during the
draft.
Patriots game.
Yeah,
We well know,
definitely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to say we definitely saw that during the Patriots game that they really showed themselves well, the defense.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things though, I can't believe how long it took them to win Aaron Rodgers, but I mean, they have him now, so I guess it really doesn't matter. They brought
Just
in
like Tom
Alvin
Brady.
Lazard and Randall Cobb, 2 of his former receivers in Green Bay to make him happy, I guess. Game I'm looking most forward to. I'm looking forward to a lot of their games, even though I don't really like the Jets. I'm gonna go
I
with the
agree.
week 2 matchup on the road against the Cowboys, 425 CBS. I think the Cowboys also have a really good defense. I don't think Dak Prescott is really that great. He led the
I
league in
agree.
interceptions last year, even though he missed like 5 games or 6 games.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm again.
but
Like I
I
said,
think
I'm. You want to go?
no, you're good. Go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, I'm really excited for the Bills Jets game because that's the first big test, and that's going to determine the rest of the season. Especially like you said, you're looking for the Cowboys and everything, and they have the 6th hardest schedule at the 54.5 record. Point percent. Sorry.
Yes, that's definitely something that to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets made it to like the AFC Championship game, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they crumble and only win like 6 or 7 games. There's a lot of debate about what the Jets could do this year. We'll just have to see though when the season comes around. Next up, we only have 2 more teams left, so coming to the end here.
Yeah.
Let's talk about maybe my least favorite team. My least favorite team in the league, the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that the Colts have not beaten since 2008. They've only beaten them a handful of times in their history. Steelers last year went 9-8. They have not had a losing season since 2003. None under Mike Tomlin. The Steelers have only had 3 head coaches since 1969. That doesn't
Wow.
show a functional organization. I don't know what does. But I think it's going to come down to Kenny Pickett. They have great. The Steelers have a ton of weapons on offense. Of course, they added Darnell Washington, a tight end out of Georgia in the draft. They have some good young receivers. The O-line is improving massively. The defense is always strong. As long as TJ Watt is healthy and in that defense, you could argue it's a top 5 unit. I mean, look at their record last year when he played and when he didn't play. Um, their
Absolutely
best
great.
matchup. I'm gonna go with their week 1 matchup at home against the San. Can you still hear me, Eli?
Yeah, you're good.
All right, yeah, because something happened with my computer.
No, yeah, you're good.
So I'm gonna go with their matchup against the San Francisco 49ers. Week 1 at home. The Steelers have gone on the road the last 2 years of week 1 and being really good at the Bengals and the Bills and the Bengals in the last 2 years. So being at home, I think that's going to give them an advantage. And we'll see what the Steelers can do this year.
Yeah, I agree. I like the 49ers Steelers choice that you made. That is going to be a good, tough matchup, especially the 49ers coming up strong from last year. Obviously, tried very hard during the postseason. I can't wait to see how that plays out. They're again good teams there. Great to see matchups there coming. And Mason Roloff signs a 1-year extension contract with the Steelers, as mentioned. I'm also looking forward to the Browns and the Steelers game because, again, a good division rival and fun to see there. And there's 5 primetime games for the Steelers, which is pretty incredible, especially coming after a 9-8 record from last year.
They're always gonna the Steelers are always gonna get a lot of primetime games because of their
Yeah,
history. So
yeah,
we have had a lot. The AFC is definitely the stronger of these 2 conferences. A lot of teams that are very
absolutely.
stable. We know what their expectations are. But we're going to end with the team that has a lot of questions going into this year. Another team that I absolutely despise, our division rivals, the Tennessee Titans. What is their quarterback situation? They have 3 quarterbacks on that team that could all possibly be a week 1 starter. I don't think Ryan Tannehill is that good. Maybe before, but he's kind of old now and injury prone. We've seen his limitations. Tennessee has choked in the playoffs the last few years. Obviously, last year they just blew that huge lead in the division, not in the game, in the division. But in 2020, 2021, choked away playoff games. 2021, they were the number 1 seed in the AFC and they went one and done. Malik Willis, he did not look like an NFL starter last year. And then they drafted Will Levis, a person that I'm not very high on myself. I know he has high upside, but who's going to be their quarterback in week 1? We don't even know. And I think this is going to affect Derrick Henry because I think they're going to have to rely on him a lot because of the instability they have at quarterback. And we saw the injury that Henry got in 2021, missed half the season. He did not look the same last year. We've seen the lifespan of running backs. I think he might be on the decline a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting season. I mean, the Titans have always been a great team, but obviously last year was the big struggle for the Titans this year. Um, they're really going to need to fight back, and the 3 quarterbacks options that you mentioned, it's going to be a really tough decision. It all comes down to training camp, and just want to let you know that Titans receiver Trylon Burks returns following breathing issues, so he'll be debuting back for training camp this season. The game I'm most looking forward to is the London game, Week 6 versus the Ravens. Again, huge matchup there. Both AFC contenders, really the one I'm looking forward to. And keep in mind, they come up with the number 11 pick from Northwestern, Peter Kornowski, the offensive tackle, which is really going to help this team a lot.
That was one of my favorite picks of the draft. Actually, I'm
Yes.
surprised you didn't pick this game. Tennessee game, I'm looking most forward to. I'm going week 16 versus your Seattle Seahawks at
Yeah,
one.
I don't want to like
Christmas
favor them
Eve.
too much, but I had I wanted to pick somebody else. Like obviously we know Seattle's
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
destroy them, but you know,
I do want to point out for the Tennessee Titans that I don't think they lost a lot of talent. They had to clear a lot of their cap. They lost their starting left tackle Taylor Lewan. They let him go. I think that's why they drafted Skoronski. They don't really have any good receivers to me. I think their defense is going to be a little weaker. I think that's always been their strong suit, but I think this could be a team. But I do want to point out though that this is not Mike Vrabel, the head coach's fault. I actually think Mike Vrabel is a really, really good head coach, and he always gets the
absolutely
most out of
agree.
his players. But what players is he going to have this year? If Derrick Henry can't stay healthy, this could be a team that picks first overall next year. But if Derrick Henry can have an MVP like season, they could compete in the division. So it's really up in the air with the Titans.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's gonna be a lot of up in the air decisions, and it's gonna be game time decisions too. Obviously, week 1, that's gonna be their absolute biggest test, and we're gonna expect a lot to come from this Titans team, and especially the amount of opponents that they have is pretty incredible. Do you know how their schedule, how much points they are, like the percentage? for hardest or the easiest? You know where
Titans,
they
I
rank?
actually don't.
Okay,
I think they're probably one of the easiest because
of the
the Colts and the
Seahawks,
Texans are two of the easiest.
because they know
So
they're gonna win.
yeah. Um hopefully we can finally beat the Titans this year. I mean we were 17-3 against them over a 10-year span. We've lost the last 5 now to them. So that's it for all the teams in the AFC. Eli, do you have anything? Do you want to go over all the week 1 games for the AFC? Just do AFC. And if there's any interleague games between the AFC and the NFC, mention those too.
Yeah, so I'll do AFC teams. I'm just gonna get the schedule out real quick. Here are your AFC teams. Week 1 games as a reminder: the Lions Chiefs 8:20 Thursday night on NBC. Carolina Panthers at the Falcons 1 p.m. on Fox. That's NFC my file. I'll just
No,
run through the
you're good.
schedule.
Just mention them all. It's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll do the CBS first 1 p.m. games: Texans Ravens, Bengals Browns. Also on CBS Buccaneers Vikings, Titans of Saints. And for the Fox 1 p.m. games, you have Carolina, Atlanta, as I mentioned already, Jacksonville, and Indianapolis Colts. They have San Francisco at the Steelers and the Cardinals at the Commanders. For the 4:25 p.m. Fox game, the Green Bay Packers are at the Bears. CBS, the Raiders are at the Broncos, as well as the Dolphins at the Chargers and the Eagles at the Patriots. And Fox also have the Rams at the Seahawks. For the primetime NBC game at 8:20, the Cowboys will have the Giants. And on Monday night on ESPN and ABC, the Bills and the Jets. So a turnaround day for the MetLife Stadium crew as they're going from Giants on Sunday night to Monday night. So
Yeah,
good
it's
luck
gonna be
there
interesting.
to the. I can't wait to see how that process goes. But yeah, I'm excited for these week 1 matchups. Mostly looking forward to the Lions Chiefs game, your Jags, the Jags versus the Colts,
My
and
Jags. What do you mean?
not my fault. I read it wrong.
Whoa.
The Colts versus the Jags. Your Colts versus the Jags. And the Bills, Jets, of course, and of course my Seattle
Yeah,
Sounders
I
versus
definitely
the
excited for
Los
week
Angeles
1.
Rams.
Again,
I'm
I
sorry
think the
about
AFC
the
is
mistake,
the
Jack.
stronger of these 2 conferences, but you could argue the NFC is the 2 best well-rounded teams in the league with the Eagles and Niners. So I think we're gonna wrap it up there.
Yeah.
Again, thank you everyone for joining. Thank you for the few people who joined it in the chat. We'll be back
Yes.
next week to discuss the NFC schedule. Eli and I will be back for that. Eli's
Yes.
more familiar with the NFC than I am, so he'll be running the show next week. I'll be here, but
Yeah. Yeah.
but again, thank you everyone for joining us
And
here on the
special
first
thank you.
edition of the 12th Horseshoe podcast.
A special
Um,
thank you again to Bobby, who helped us all out and running our first show today. Thank you all to the supporters and for all those who commented today on the chat. We're really excited and we're ready for the future. We hope that this can be a possibly continuous thing, and we can't wait to talk about the NFC next week and Seahawks. Yeah, sorry about the Jags mistake, Jack. I know.
no,
We
you're
we know
fine.
you're
I know,
close.
I know it's been a long show.
It's been a
Uh,
long show, and it was our first night, so I'm like a little nervous, like still trying to organize it.
yeah,
But
still trying to
I had a fun
process it.
night. Yeah, and I can't wait for next week for the NFC and the future for our podcast.
Yeah, definitely. We hope to make this permanent thing. We hope you guys all stay along the ride with us. So I think we're gonna wrap it up there. Again, from Elijah Weintraub, I'm Jack Rizzo. Thank you for watching the first edition of the 12 Horseshoe podcast. We will see you all next week for the NFC part of the schedule release. Goodbye.
Bye bye, guys.